When FBI agents arrested Amin el-Khalifi for plotting to blow up the U.S. Capitol, most media reports identified him as simply a Moroccan man. Entire news reports about el-Khalifi's case made no mention of the fact that he was Muslim. Neither did a top Justice Department official who labeled the al-Qaeda admirer a homegrown violent extremist. Again, no mention of Islam, even though el-Khalifi had prayed at a Washington area mosque just moments before driving a van he thought was packed with explosives to the Capitol.
He was obviously affiliated with the Islamic Jihad, and what's very clear is that had he succeeded, the coverage would have been different. But wouldn't it be better if we had media coverage that talked about the potential of what could happen so we could prevent it?
Minnesota Representative Michelle Bachmann told CBN News political correctness takes over in mainstream reporting on Islamic terrorism.
The world is being turned upside down because of radical Islam, and our media is refusing to tell the story. They come from a decidedly leftist worldview and a secular, almost an anti-secular in a way, because they've embraced such a radical worldview and they impose that filter through every subject they touch.
Depending on who and what you read, the war against Islamic jihadists is already history. The day after U.S. forces killed Osama bin Laden, CNN terrorism analyst Peter Bergen declared that the war on terror was over. The New Republic's Peter Beinart agreed, saying it was time to lay that war to rest.
Unfortunately, our best and our brightest have become our worst and our dimmest.
Author Michael Widlansky's new book, Battle for Our Minds, argues that the American people are being misled about the Islamic terror threat.
I'm talking about our public intellectuals, the people who are the gatekeepers to our minds, our media, our academics, and our government intelligence people.
He says these groups have created a climate where legitimate criticism of Islamist ideology is branded as bigoted.
Our problem isn't Islamophobia. It's not a phobia. It's not an unreasoning fear. It's Islamophilia, an unreasoning love of Islam and protection of Islam. And even worse, Islamyopia, a nearsightedness and a willful ignorance when it comes to things Islamic.
The problem existed through the Clinton and Bush administrations, Widlansky says, but has reached new heights under President Obama. The Department of Homeland Security has replaced phrases like radical Islam and Islamic terrorism with vague terms like violent extremism and man-made disasters. And after a Muslim terrorist shouting Allahu Akbar gunned down 13 U.S. soldiers at Fort Hood, a Pentagon report described the massacre as workplace violence. Then there is the president's top counterterrorism advisor, John Brennan. He's referred to Jerusalem by its Arabic name, Al-Quds, and has called jihad a spiritual struggle and legitimate tenet of Islam.
The basic meaning of jihad in Arabic, from the Arabic root, jahada, third form, is war, physical war.
So how did the politically correct stance on Islamic jihad take root among our leaders and opinion shapers? According to Widlansky, much of it can be traced back to one Palestinian professor whose reach extended far beyond the classroom. Edward Said was a former advisor to Yasser Arafat. During a trip to southern Lebanon, Said was photographed throwing stones at Israeli soldiers stationed on the border. Yet these radical activities did not stop him from becoming a celebrity professor at Columbia University, thanks to his book, Orientalism.
Said's basic idea was that the West had raped the Islamic East. He wanted the West to get dumb, and he succeeded. And the next two generations of American students, diplomats, future CIA agents, know little or no Arabic, little or no Islamic culture.
He says Said's portrayal of the West as aggressor and the Muslim world as victim had huge influence on college campuses and in the mainstream media. It also became popular at the State Department and in the intelligence community. President Obama, who was then a state senator, even shared a table with Said at a 1998 Arab community event in Chicago.
You can see and feel the Said message in many of the things that Obama says.
Widlansky says the Said view has done great damage to American interests, but that it's not irreversible.
The average American understands in his gut, in her gut, what's going on. They pick up the hints. Let's start educating our law enforcement, our security officials, the next generation of American students to understand the Middle East, to understand terrorism. We can beat this thing Israel has beaten it. The United States can beat it. The world can beat it. We have to beat it.
Eric Stakelbeck, CBN News, Washington.